morning, tabletop role-playing game community of the world. Whew, it's Monday morning, and I've already got a headache, and it's only 10 o'clock. Water. Support me, water. I will sell out. Speaking of sell out, segue. It's time to talk about this. Now, I know I talked about it last week, and I was maybe gloating more than I should. But you got to understand that this holds a sort of a special place in my heart, near and dear, because I have been defending my statement for a while now that this would happen, despite multiple individuals telling me I was wrong. It wasn't just one single individual. Oh, no, it was a lot of people telling me I'm wrong, including a few who are now saying, oh, yeah, I always knew this was going to happen. So, yeah, Critical Role announced in their State of the Press that they're making not one, but two new role-playing games, which, of course, there's a lot of issues with that statement alone and anything that comes out of Mercer and company. So because what you were already making, they were already making two role-playing games. One was called Critical Role Adventures, which we know very little about. And the other was Matt Mercer's Syndicate, which is sort of Mercer's take, I guess, on sort of Shadowrun-ish fantasy gangs fighting it out for control of a city kind of thing. Those are both on the back burner. And now it seems that all engines forward are going towards two role-playing game systems. The first system is called Illuminated Worlds. It's a forthcoming role-playing system designed for short arcs in a myriad of settings. So it's a generic system. It allows you to tell compelling orc-driven stories in a wide variety of settings and genres: fantasy, science fiction, superheroes, Old West, blah, 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 blah. It is lovingly crafted by Strauss Akamivarek and Lila Edelman, two incredible game designer. It uses a D6 dice pool system. It's flexible and fun and will supposedly be available for you to check out at Gen Con 2023, which means June. If you want to know more, sign up for the newsletter, which I tried to, but the newsletter sign up thing doesn't work. So yeah. Who are Strauss Akamivarek and Lila Edelman? Don't know. No link to their names here on the site. So let's use the magic of the interweb to look them up. Who are you? It says here that he is a game designer for a company called Cryptid. He has appeared in West Coast game conventions. He's done programming. He's done other D6 systems. Doesn't really tell anything about it other than he works for a company called Off Guard Games, who have made Scum and Villainy, Band and Blades. So they make games for using the open system that Blades in the Dark. And yeah, that's it. His doesn't really say a lot about him, except he's made some games. Who's the other one? The other one is Lila Edelman. What do we know about Lila Edelman? Let's check the interweb, see what they tell us about Lila Edelman. Apparently, we don't really have any news on who she is. We just know she's one of the publishers. Yep. Strauss Akamivarek has made stuff for Forged in the Dark. Lila Edelman, nothing. We don't know anything about her. No, I can't find. If anybody knows anything Lila Edelman has made, there's a singer named Lila Edelman. I'm not sure if it's the same person. But Yep. No news on who she is or what her credits for gaming is, as opposed to what they mean by D6 dice pool system. Is this a brand new D6 dice pool system, or is it a permutation of ones that have already existed, like the West End Games D6 dice pool system, or more recently, the Year Zero dice pool system from Free League? Other than that, we don't know anything about it. The other one, and slightly more importantly, is Daggerheart. Now, I want you to just think about this name here, Daggerheart. But first, I'm going to correct something that I mentioned earlier. A lot of people have been saying, including them, Critical Role is making X. Critical Role is making Daggerheart. No, Critical Role is not making Daggerheart. Darrington Press is making Daggerheart. Critical Role is not a person, place, or thing. It is a placeholder name for the show that they do on YouTube and other things. But Critical Role is not making anything. Darrington Press is making this stuff. Matt Mercer is making this stuff. Marissa's making this stuff. Travis is making this stuff. Laura is making this stuff. All the Ivan Man Norman, not his real name, is making this stuff. Yeah, these guys are making this stuff. No, so there we go. Daggerheart, a literal. Let's just look at it. Okay, back to normal. The name of the fantasy role-playing game they are making is called Daggerheart. We will apparently be able to preview it at Gen Con. This is the one that had me laughing maniacally. The name is Daggerheart. It is literally a dagger to the heart of the tabletop role-playing game community saying, screw you, Wizards of the Coast. We're making our own game. Years ago, over a year, maybe two, maybe even longer. I don't remember when I actually started first saying this. I said they will make their own tabletop role-playing game, fantasy game. It wasn't a matter of if, it was simply a matter of when. There was absolutely no reason for them not to. The amount of insults, the amount of you're an idiot, the amount of you don't know what you're talking about. Not just one person said this. Dozens of people have said this to me time and time again, how wrong I was, that they would never do this because they would never bite the hand that fed them. Critical Role couldn't exist without Dungeons and Dragons. When actually, truth be told, Dungeons and Dragons would not exist today in the way we know it without Critical Role and Stranger Things. Had Stranger Things not said, let's talk about D&D because this takes place in the 80s, and had not Critical Role said, hey, we can probably make more money on our own instead of being part of Geek and Sundry, that's a whole separate story. Let's use this YouTube thing because it's pretty big, and live play on YouTube is pretty big as opposed to just our little, home games we've been doing. And then it caught on. And it caught on, whoa, way bigger than I think anybody imagined. But there's a lot of factors to why Critical Role got so big, which will be hard, if not impossible, to repeat. So will Daggerheart be to Darrington Press what Critical Role was to Wizards of the Coast? Who knows? Maybe not. I gotta be totally honest on this one. As excited as I am for this to finally happen, as excited as I am for them to step up and say, maybe we're the ones who can kick D&D off the top of the role-playing game pyramid. I also have to say, so far, everything that's come out from Darrington Press has been a failure. And you've had things that you've announced that we've never seen. Board games that you said you were going to make, we never saw. 2 role-playing games you said you were going to make, we still haven't seen. And now you're saying we've got 2 new coming out. So up till today, your batting average, your level of success, Darrington Press, has not been great. Will they be able to survive without the publishing power behind them that is Wizards of the Coast? Well, I don't know. I mean, if you remember the fact that they just signed a multi-million-dollar deal with Amazon, I think they're okay. So that's I don't think the support of Wizards of the Coast is an obstacle in the way. They have their own publishing company. They have their own production company. They have the multi-million-dollar with Amazon. They do not need Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast needs them. The deal that Wizards of the Coast would have had to present them would have to be bigger and more profitable from the Amazon deal for them to stay. So 2 years ago, I said this was going to happen. People said, no, it happened. They're making a role-playing game, a fantasy role-playing game. Mercer is working on this role-playing game. It is coming from the geniuses that gave us Critical Role. Will this be the Critical Role-playing game setting? Will Tal'Dorei be set in the Daggerheart system? Will we see Campaign 4 using this system? No, Matt Mercer would never cut the ties from Wizards of the Coast. You don't know what you're talking about. He's not going to make his own game. Matt Mercer needs Wizards of the Coast. No, Wizards of the Coast needs Matt Mercer. Matt Mercer does not need Wizards of the Coast. First and foremost, Matt Mercer has a real day job. His job is not make shit for Wizards of the Coast. His job is, I am an award-winning voice actor who also happens to play role-playing games and through sheer dumb luck has managed to make a pretty decent living also making role-playing games. But first and foremost, my job is voice actor. But I'm getting older. I'm married. It's time to start thinking about a family. This role-playing thing can make me money, and I don't have to travel or be out of state for a while. You know, I can be more in the area. So, yeah. Why shouldn't I start converting more of my energy over to this entertainment thing and less energy into the voice acting thing? Because it'll give me more time with my prospective family. As rest of all the other members of the cast and crew are going, we're getting older. We've all got families now. We've all got responsibilities now. You know, voice acting's great, but maybe this is a great way to make a lot of money also. So 2 years ago, I said this was going to happen. People were like, nope. And now it's happening. So that is why I am taking a little unnecessary gloating with this. But will it be successful? Again, so far, nothing they've made has been incredibly successful, but this is them playing a fantasy role-playing game. Now, again, let's get back to they would never cut ties from Wizards of the Coast. They would never bite the hand that feeds them, even though we know that they are the hand that has fed Wizards of the Coast. Nothing else. Not the other way around. Let us look at Bell's Hells, Campaign 3 of Critical Role that has, I think, just ended or come to a very bizarre mid-season final. Throughout Campaign 3, from what I've been told, Matt Mercer has been systematically destroying everything he created in Campaign 1 and Campaign 2, including, from what I've been told, remember, I don't watch the show, I'm just talking to other people and reading what people have sent me, connections between his world and Wizards of the Coast's world. So there are deities in Matt Mercer's world that are similar to, if not exact copies of, deities that have appeared in the Forgotten Realms. Let's use Tyr. I don't know if Tyr is in Matt Mercer's world. That would require me actually looking up what the gods are. But we know Tyr appears in every tabletop role-playing game cosmology. So Tyr, the even-handed. Matt Mercer has been killing the gods, specifically the gods that he borrowed from D&D. So if Tyr hypothetically was one of the gods that existed in Mercer world that also exists in the Forgotten Realms, killed them off. He's been slowly killing off or destroying any connection between Campaign 1 and Campaign 2 that were much more connected to D&D stuff, like renaming spells, changing the NPCs. He's done stuff to like Keyleth and all the other characters. So, you know, by the end of Campaign 3, the world of Tal'Dorei is going to be seriously messed up, if not completely destroyed, just in time for a reboot. Because apparently that seems to be the goal of the Campaign 3 major bad guy, is to kill the gods and destroy the moon and awaken a new god and restart the universe. So there's a pretty big dagger to the heart. I am disconnecting myself from anything that might be considered D&D/OGL /Wizards of the Coast. So if this existed in my game in campaign 1 and campaign 2, and I got it from the Forgotten Realms, it's gone by the end of campaign 3. 2, they came out during the December thing. We waited to see what they would say, and they said a lot without saying anything. And basically what they said is, we support this. We support the third parties, and we're going to do things to support third parties. And then they basically said, wouldn't it be great if we made our own game? And I was like, yes, they're going to make their own game. And people were like, no, they're not. Well, the third thing that seems to once again say that I am 100% correct, and all the people who said I was stupid were 100% wrong. The dagger to the heart that is Wizards of the Coast is, well, for the past 2 campaigns, one of the biggest sponsors for Critical Role has been D&D Beyond. And one of the best part has been Sam's skits about D&D Beyond at the beginning of every episode of Critical Role. The running joke with his t-shirts, the running joke with the drinking canteens, the running jokes of the multiple episodes that he's done of D&D Beyond related content, and how he's built up D&D Beyond, including plays, cartoons, mini movies, the how Laura gave birth thing. Hilarious stuff. I mean, they're consistently hilarious. He has been the biggest D&D Beyond shill since they got it started sponsoring by D&D Beyond at the tail end of campaign 1. You know what we haven't seen? Again, I don't know if this is true. This is just what people tell me because, you know, I don't watch the show. I probably should watch the show since I'm talking about it. They haven't been doing D&D Beyond ads. They've been doing ads for other stuff, dislike, things like that. Is this true? It's what I've been told. I mean, you know, I could take a moment out of my time to stop being a lazy ass and actually watch the show. But why do that when other people can do it before me? So for the past several months, no mention of D&D Beyond. So that's 3. That's 3 daggers to the heart. What's number 4? 4th dagger to the heart to lead to my conclusion that they are making their own game and cutting their ties with Wizards of the Coast is where have they been in relation to Wizards of the Coast events since January? Wizards of the Coast just had 2 major media disasters. They had the D&D Direct, which was hosted by a cosplayer who occasionally plays D&D named Jeannie Darling, and a comedian who occasionally plays D&D, whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce because I'll just screw it up. So, yeah. Mostly it was Jeannie Darling because, oops, my titties fell out. Noticeably missing from D&D Direct, noticeably missing from any mention at D&D Direct, anything to do with Darrington Press or Critical Role. Nobody on D&D Direct was Critical Role. They did not appear anywhere in the movie. People were like, oh, Critical Role characters are in the movie. And Mercer was like, no, we're not. We are not anywhere in that movie. I don't even know, like we did voice acting. Maybe, I don't know. Then we had a week later, the creative content timeshare disaster. We had several speakers present, including Crawford and Perkins. You know who wasn't there? Anybody from Critical Role. You know who wasn't mentioned? Critical Role. Hey, are we making any more Critical Role adjacent product in 2023, 2024 from 5th edition? No mention. No mention. It's like they ceased to exist sometime after January. No mention in any Wizards of the Coast propaganda since January of Critical Role. 2 years ago, I said this was going to happen. People are like, nah, you're dumb. They make their own production company, buy their own studio. They're going to make their own game. Nah, you're dumb. They make their own publishing company, Darrington Press. They're going to make their own game. Nah, you're dumb. They sign a huge $1 million deal with Amazon. Amazon, not Hasbro. Amazon. They're going to make their own game. Nah, you're dumb. OGL happens. They come forward and say their little thing. They're going to make their own game. Mercer even basically says, we're going to make our own game during the tail end of their thing when they're talking about it. No, hey, I think Critical Role is going to make their own game. It is the most financially makes sense for them. OGGM, you don't know what you're talking about. That's stupid. They would never bite the hand that feeds them. A week ago, something came out, and I said, you know what? They're probably going to make their own game. And people are like, nah. Well, guess what? They're making their own game. They're making their own fantasy role-playing game. They're making their own fantasy role-playing game designed for long campaigns. You know what a long campaign is? Critical Role, Campaign 1, Vox Machina, a long-term campaign. Critical Role, Campaign 2, The Mighty Nine, a long-term campaign. Critical Role, Campaign 3, Bell's Hells, a long campaign. The game is called Daggerheart. It is literally a dagger to the heart of Wizards of the Coast. If they do even a 3-day, 3-episode playthrough of Daggerheart on the channel, the critters will flock. The critters will flock to anything they do. Remember Honey Heist? They did that, thing with Honey Heist. The guy sold bank for Honey Heist and the other stuff he's made. Other people have made games based upon Honey Heist simply because it got water. Support me, water. Free press from Critical Role. So, will they do a playthrough of Illuminated Worlds? Of course they will. Will they do a playthrough of Daggerheart? Of course they will. Will Campaign 4 be set using Daggerheart? Probably. Will this be a multi-million-dollar success for them and kick D&D's ass? I'm going to say yes. I'm putting money on yes, but let's be reasonable. Let's be honest. The success rate of every other product they've made so far out of Darrington Press, except for maybe the Tal'Dorei Guide, not that great. Nothing great. But I think if Mercer invests as much passion in Daggerheart as he has in Critical Role and Dungeons & Dragons for the past several years, and they do the same thing with Daggerheart that they did with D&D 5e back when they switched from Pathfinder to 5e, because remember, they used to play Pathfinder, and then they switched to 5e, and then they were like, oh, look, we're making money. Yeah, I think, and the critters will follow them. The critters will follow them no matter what, because a large portion of the critters don't even play. They just appreciate watching the creation that is Critical Role. They devote hours of time, energy, and money to the creation that is Critical Role without having ever played 5th edition. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't. So if the same thing happens, it could be the thing that we need to kick 5th edition off the top of the pyramid. And there's a lot of, like I said, there are other factors that led to Critical Role being as big as it was, that we can't repeat. But there's a brand new set of factors that have entered into the world that we are just becoming aware of that could affect the outcome of this inevitable battle. So, if anybody out there still thinks Critical Role is going to be loyal to Wizards of the Coast, I'm saying again right now, no, this is their dagger to the heart. They're done. And by the end of Campaign 3, I think we will see the end of their relationship with 5th edition. Could be wrong, but this is what I believe. And so far, my batting record in predictions lately is 100. So, yeah, I think, yeah. And why do you keep saying batting average? I don't know, maybe because baseball season's about to start. Go Cubs. Yeah, so I think they're going to make it. They're going to cut ties from Wizards of the Coast. They're going to do successful. How successful remains to be seen, but Daggerheart, especially if Mercer puts his energy behind it, will be successful. Can they repeat? Can they catch lightning in a bottle a second time? Can they repeat 2018 to 2021? No, they can't. That would be impossible because the series of events would have to be exactly the same. And that's never going to happen. But there's a new series of events that could equal to or exceed what happened between 2018 and 2021. Starting with the utter failure of Dungeons & Dragons, the movie. And wait for it, because this is my ending big surprise. Hasbro just announced that they think they found a buyer for E1, their entertainment division, that they want to focus more on video games and less on movies, and that they're thinking about selling off Transformers and G.I. Joe, at least the media Transformers and G.I. Joe, not the toy line, but the media to Transformers and G.I. Joe. They just announced that this morning. Why would they sell off G.I. Joe? Well, I mean, the media rights to G.I. Joe, well, nothing's really been done with G.I. Joe in a while other than those really awful live action movies. And Transformers is about to experience a new resurgence thanks to Rise of the Beast. Basically, we're going to see Beast Wars. Now, and this will restart some interest in Transformers. Right now, we know that Netflix has half of the Transformers rights digital, and Paramount Plus has the other half of the rights digital. That was part of the whole multi-million-dollar deal that Hasbro made with their Japanese brothers, who right now aren't very happy with them. Separate story. Now, obviously, they're not going to cut loose Power Rangers or Peppa because those both make huge money for them digitally, especially they just made $30 million off of Power Rangers. And despite everything, the 30th anniversary is getting amazing reviews and making them a lot of money. But they're hemming and hawing about the digital fate of Transformers and G.I. Joe as they want to focus more on video games. Not necessarily Dungeons and Dragons, but video games, and focus more on Power Rangers and Peppa and digital D&D shit, should it ever actually happen. But the movie failed, and that plays a huge part in it. Stock dropped $1 this morning. That plays a huge part of it. There are things happening in the world, including the fact that Critical Role / Mercer / everybody signed that huge contract deal with Amazon. That means that the same series of events won't happen, but something else could happen. To D&D is already teetering at the top of that pyramid. There's not a lot of goodwill towards Wizards of the Coast right now. Even Hasbro has set them with that 5-year, sword of Damocles hanging over their head. And now Critical Role has done something that I said they would do 2, if not longer, 2 years ago. Make their own fantasy role-playing game. A fantasy role-playing game that Mercer is working on. A fantasy role-playing game designed for long-term campaigns. And a fantasy role-playing game called Daggerheart. Literally a dagger to the heart of the tabletop role-playing game community, specifically Wizards of the Coast. I'm calling it now, just like I did 2 years ago. I'm putting my money on the table. Will I be wrong? We'll see, but I don't think so. That's it. That's all I have to say about this. I have enjoyed gloating over this enough. I think I can move on to another topic, at least until they say something else, maybe. Now, excuse me just for a second. I told you! I motherfucking told you! And you're all like, you don't know what you're talking about. I was like, they're gonna make their own game. So allow me to gloat once again. I was right. I was fucking right. All right, I'm done. I'm the OG GM. If you appreciate this, let me know. If you ever want to hear me talk about Critical Role ever again, let me know. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please subscribe. Help me hit 2,000 subs by the end of the year. And if you are feeling generous and want to support me because I need a new computer, consider signing up for my Patreon. It's slowly growing. It's going to be a way to get direct stuff pretty soon if I can figure it out. So yeah, if you haven't signed up yet, it's $5 a month. Exclusive OG GM content, exclusive Steve the Cat content, and me laughing maniacally over this topic. I told you it was going to happen. Till next time, I will talk to y'all later. Stay warm, stay healthy, stay happy, stay hydrated, and above all, I told you! Get off my land.